Hello, and welcome back to another video. If you're looking for recommendations on what manhwa to read, then here are some that I've read recently that might be of interest. Manhwa titles are timestamped in the video for your convenience. Our first manhwa for today is I'm Not That Kind of Talent, an action manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 83 on. Its main character is Dion Hart, a human who lived quite a life, you could say. From being the only person in his household who had different physical features on top of being not too healthy, Dion developed insecurities over time. Finding himself in the present, it's revealed to us that Dion Hart is both a commander for the demon army while also being a hero for the human one. Two entities that should not really be coexisting easily, at least in this particular environment. Dion has to constantly shuffle back and forth to entertain the leaders of the faction, and he isn't the most keen about it either. Here's the thing though, there is more to Dion's story, but without getting too much into it, Dion has had to split his personality to ensure that he himself doesn't break. But reality comes crashing down, and at some point, he has to face the music. The story is 8 out of 10. Someone playing both sides of a potential conflict is always interesting. Is he a normal spy, a double agent, triple, or quadruple agent? I would like to believe he's only looking out for his own best interest, and if he was allowed, he would just wallow around all day and do nothing. The world, though, has other plans for him, and they will be quite a struggle. The characters are also 8 out of 10. Dion, though, has a brother that he has to contend with, leaders of the faction to try and please, subordinates on each side that seem to curry favor but also annoy him, and other various political struggles in play that both involve and don't involve Dion in his plans. Almost like a chess game with like 10 players, actually. The art, though, is a 10 out of 10. Fair warning, this manhwa shows a lot, and I mean a lot, of particularly graphic scenes that may leave some more of the squeamish individuals with vivid imaginations knocked out of commission. If you enjoy that style though, this manhwa is able to display that insanity, planning, tragedy, and all manners of emotions, cunning, and action in a very, very powerful way. So if you're a fan of action manhwas in which the main character has quite the tragic past, and he currently has to play multiple sides of a fantasy world's biggest powers, then I'm Not That Kind of Talent would fit the bill. Once again, thanks to those that recommended this manhwa. This next manhwa to take a look at is The Youngest Disciple of the Martial Arts Leader, a regression manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 51 on. The protagonist is Li Huan, the youngest disciple of the Murim Alliance leader. Huan is on a mission one day with his master and is currently being chased by enemy forces. To save his injured master and also those of other sect members, Huan chooses to delay the enemy himself, knowing full well the consequences of his own decision. He encounters one of the elders of the enemy faction who, in turn, fatally injures him. Instead of finishing him off though, Huan ends up being captured to be utilized as a body for the elder. As the ritual or process is finished, something else seems to have happened instead. Huan is sent back to the past, back to when he was only newly minted as the youngest disciple of the Murim Alliance leader. Now with the second chance, Huan looks to try and change things, but what is in store for him as he sees everything else? The story is 9 out of 10. A Murim regression story isn't the most unique plot point that manhwas have gone through these days. However, this one has some interesting points. One is the fact that the Elder is still seemingly somewhere within Huan's soul. There isn't a lot revealed yet, but there has to be something there. Both conflict and power, probably. The other is the fact that the life that Huan originally lived wasn't that long, and so there's only really a set amount of time until he doesn't know what the future holds. The characters are 8 out of 10. In contrast to his first life, Huan now lives one with more diligence and effort, trusting that maybe he can garner enough power and support to overthrow those that ended up eliminating him and potentially his master from his first life. Plus, there seems to be a little more history between Huan's family and those of the greater Murim world. The art is 7 out of 10. With it only having 51 chapters so far, there hasn't been that much time for true conflict in Huan's Murim world to start. Expect to see a lot more training, martial growth, and actions that try to solidify both his master's political standing, but also his own. Some combat and action are still there, but just a little bit more sparingly for now. So if you enjoy Murim aggression manhwas but wanted the orthodox sect perspective compared to the unorthodox side like absolute aggression from my previous videos, then The Youngest Disciple of the Martial Arts Leader would be a good one to pick up. I've really enjoyed reading shorter stories over the past little bit, so we have another 2 this week to go over. The Goal is Alimony is our first one to take a peek at. It's a reincarnation manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 27 on. Evelyn is the name of its main character. Originally just supposed to be a character from a tragedy-stricken novel, our version of Evelyn, who has of course reincarnated into said character, has a different plan with her life. The single goal of merely surviving and divorcing the male lead different, and receiving alimony payment to live a nice and comfy divorced life. As she puts this plan slowly into action though, she can't help but take notice of the little things that Different is doing, even teasing him a little bit here and there. But overall, she doesn't plan on becoming close. This version of the plot though seems to have other plans. The potential is 7 out of 10. A normal run-of-the-mill romantic fantasy that has the initial goal of the female lead wanting a clean-cut relationship compared to the events of the original work. Evelyn though can't help but get somewhat attached, which might blossom into something more of course. Same applies to the male lead as well, as Different, slowly, actually ends up noticing his own feelings. Probably, right? The art is also 7 out of 10. Given the more stoic nature of Different, his Stonewall male lead character gets slowly chipped at and is displayed throughout the short amount of chapters so far. It hasn't completely fallen, but the happy and joyful situations surrounding him through these times, now with this new Evelyn, bring a bright color to his life that hasn't really existed there before. So if you're a fan of romantic fantasy stories and don't mind following a newer manhwa with less chapters in it, then The Goal is Alimony would be a good one to bookmark for when you have the appetite for it. The second shorter story for this week is Emperor of Solo Play, a modern manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 15 on. The focus of this story is on An Jae-hyun, a core member of a guild he found with a companion he met in Warlord, a full-dive virtual MMO that Jae-hyun poured his whole entire life into. This was until he was betrayed by the very same guild and companion who he trusted so much, all for the sake of money. Due to another accident in real life, Jae-hyun wakes up back in the past, and with this new second chance, he looks to take revenge on those that took enjoyment and peace from his downfall. Jae-hyun's one new resolve though is that he is no longer trusting of anyone, and thus starts his solo play as the potentially most difficult class to play with in Warlord, Necromancer. The potential is 8 out of 10. Trying to take revenge on people that betrayed you in an MMO space isn't the most unique direction for a modern aggression manhwa. However, its focus on necromancy in the game and its particular challenges of playing said class has got me at least peaked. The fact that Jae-hyun won't even play the necromancer as a usual mage style character but instead one of a direct combat allows him a different perspective from one that we would usually expect. The art is 7 out of 10. So far, so good. It's able to display the strengths of the game and the limitations and comedic nature sometimes of Jae-hyun's class. In addition, the moment-to-moment scenes have a variety of art styles that's able to both be amusing and action thriller as needed. So if you're a fan of modern regression stories focused on a particular virtual MMO, similar to the solo munching game Breaker and that manhwa's revenge focus, then the Emperor of Solo Play may soon just fit into that fold. Another week, another highlight. For those unaware, this is the section of the video I update impressions for manhwa that I've previously covered. Today's highlight is Ranker's Return, which I've now read up to chapter 193 on. Info card and description will have links to my original opinion. Kang Hyun-woo, aka Melee God or Alley Boss, has finally, after so many chapters, shed off the mask of his past and revealed that he is Melee God from the original incarnation of Arena. With so many adventures, arcs, rare events, and other benefits he's been able to gather for himself, his new Alley Boss account is not one to be trifled with easily. Given that he has close ties with some of the most powerful NPCs in the whole game, Hyun-woo's approach to the game is directed to a little bit more towards enjoyment and discovery, while challenging himself throughout. Although, this doesn't mean that he has forgotten to properly pay back those that did not look so favorably on him. Overall, Hyun-woo's journey continues, and this manhwa still is able to find ways to make itself enjoyable to read through. My previous scores for this manhwa were 9 out of 10 for characters, 7 out of 10 for art, and 8 out of 10 for story. The characters stay the same at 9 out of 10 as we still have the same great core cast of characters to enjoy. From Hyunwoo, Taengi, his masters, and even the enemies they face, they're very amusing and also stupidly strong. The art stays the same as well at 7 out of 10 as with over 190 chapters, the art style is pretty set in stone at this point. I will say, compared to its initial showing, their refinement and its identity have been clearly found and it heavily leans on it. To be more biased, it's really a 10 out of 10 because of Taengi. The story though goes up 1 point from 8 out of 10 to 9 out of 10, as with the latest set of chapters I've read, we're finally moving forward with what is seemingly more plot for Hyunwoo's class. It's been a while since he's been able to do some sort of actual advancement that isn't just equipment or some skill upgrade. Now there is some development even to unexplored territory in the world of Arena. Ranker's Return has been a very much enjoyed continued read for myself. So if you enjoy game-based manhwas that have a focus on a person's journey to dominance once more, then it might be worth your while to give it a whirl. Would you agree, or would you not? Comment down below your thoughts on Ranker's Return. And that wraps up this week's episode. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content and write down in the comment section down below what manhwa you've been reading and I might just take a look. Till next time though, have a good read.